Hi, my name's Phoebe Power and I'm the author of Book of Days. Book of Days is my second book of poems with Carcanet Press, and I'm really excited to be here right now telling you all about it. I'm sitting here right now in my room in central York where I live, and I'm sitting at my desk, which is where I generally work and do my writing. I do also like to sometimes write outside. I take a little notebook with me when I go for a walk, like this. And I like to write notes sometimes when I'm out for a walk around here in York or when I'm travelling. And when I was writing this book, Book of Days, which is all about a pilgrimage walk, so it's about a very long walk, I did use a notebook like that to write little poems, short fragments really, while I was actually walking. And a book that really inspired me while I was kind of thinking about it, which I guess I was thinking about going on the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela for quite a long time before I actually went. And a book that I read while I was kind of preparing to go and thinking about it was this book. It's a book by Matsuo Basho called The Narrow Road to the Deep North. And I love this book. It really kind of changed my ideas about poetry in some ways. Now, it was originally written in Japanese and I don't speak Japanese, but I've read it in translation. And it's such an interesting book because it's written in a form called a haiban, which is a kind of hybrid form of prose and verse together. So it's all about Basho's travels in Japan, and he went off kind of like a pilgrim just with his backpack all the way up to the far north, and along the way visited various shrines and beautiful places in nature, and stayed with friends, and along the way wrote lots of haiku. And I think what I find so fascinating is the interrelationship between the prose, the travel narrative, and the travelogue, with the haiku, the heightened lyric intensity of the short poems. And I was thinking, when I went on the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, which is in northern Spain, I guess my plan was to try to write a kind of a haiban poem which was able to express this sense of the journey, the onward progress, and the linearity and the daily repetition of that, but also that sense of that kind of thing that poets are so interested in, the little details, those moments of kind of wonder and stillness along the way. And it seemed to me a good form for a pilgrimage, which is not just an ordinary walk. It has obviously has a spiritual dimension. Anyway, the book that I ended up writing was not really a haiban in the true sense, but it's definitely inspired and influenced by that kind of spirit, and it weaves together different kinds of writing. It weaves together lots of kind of fast, energetic stories and voices of all the pilgrims that I met along the way, on the way to Santiago. It's kind of fizzing with stories and voices, and then they're kind of interwoven with sort of more condensed, distilled, short verses, but all of it's in one poem really. So I've been thinking of it as a long poem. It's got a kind of narrative of sorts, so it's sort of in chapters, and yeah, as you can tell, it's a book which is slightly between genres, and yeah. Writing this book was an absolute joy for me. I haven't really enjoyed writing anything ever so much as this book, even though it was quite hard. It took me a long time, because it's quite long, and it took me a couple of years of completely redrafting all of it and changing the form entirely a couple of times, starting kind of from scratch more or less several times. So it was a challenge, but the reason I enjoyed it so much was because it enabled me to return to the place and the space and the time and the people of the Camino, which was for me personally and spiritually immensely precious. So regard the book aside and the poetry aside, the opportunity to be a pilgrim on the Camino de Santiago was a huge, great blessing and a gift for me. And being a writer, it enabled me to kind of relive its joys and its moments through writing the book. And when I got home from the Camino, I began to write quite quickly, straight away, write down all the things that I'd experienced. And I got up every day in the morning, and when I was walking, we used to get up early in the morning and set out walking, and then that kind of, once I was home, I wasn't walking anymore. It was actually November, it was really cold, but that kind of energy to walk, I suppose, got converted into a kind of writing energy, and I'd get up in the morning and think back through all the days of the walk that I'd experienced, and it's quite hard to explain if you haven't done something quite like that, but it's such an intense experience that it was quite important to kind of process it all day by day, and writing the poems, all the poetry. Well, it was helpful, and lots of the things that I did write I didn't use as well. So it was a long process of editing. So I'm going to read you a little bit from it. It's as I said, it's a long poem. It's in a long kind of flow, really. So the best way to experience it is to read it all. And I don't know. What I'm going to read is a little fragment, a little scene. But I'm going to read you a list first of some of the reasons why people may choose to walk the Camino de Santiago, which is very popular. It's walked by people from over 100 nationalities from all around the world. People of all ages do it. People who are not fit do it. People who are really fit do it. People do it on their own. People do it in groups, and the reasons vary. My mum is here with me. You can't see her, but she's here. I am here to ask God what he would like me to do. I don't know the reason yet, but I will. I'm not happy in my job. I'm here because my wife said it would be good for me. I'm here to look after Noreen, my wife. I'm here with my brother from South Africa. I'm here to celebrate being able-bodied with my mom. I'm carrying Dad's ashes. I'm about to turn 50. I survived cancer. We want to do this while we still can. I've been working for the past 6 years for the internet, and I'm always on the internet, and I want a break from the internet. I've just turned 60, and I want to see what else life has to offer. As you get older, you realise what's important is people, and I'm here to spend time with my buddy. Lisa, Anna, Kate, Claire, Tokla, Rachel, Gay, Cecilia, Sven, Jerry, Noreen, Laurie, Matt, Marta, Gernal, Bo, and more. All set off together, start in the same grey promise. Walking in one irregular string, up the mountain, first one, then another further ahead, then twos and threes, then another one, figures climbing with their packs of every colour, maroon, turquoise, purple, yellow. Mostly we keep the silence, breathing up the hillside like a moving monastery. Cattle bells tongue continually. At dawn the cattle settle by the side of the path. Who comes today? They take photos, carefully creep by or barge through, transmit respect. The cattle let all pass.